Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Max Homa, the sweet, sweet swing of Max Homa. This guy's an absolute legend. If you listen to the No Laying Up podcast, you'll know that Max is a regular guest on the channel. He comes across as like a really nice guy, a bit of a dude, but you know, beyond that, he is just an absolutely brilliant player, isn't he? He is. I'm pretty sure he's top 10 in the world. He's like 13th in the data golf rankings. And, you know, he's just consistently performing the highest standard on the PGA Tour. It is one of my favorite swings on the tour, probably with the exception of Tommy Fleetwood. The tempo that this guy has is just absolutely unreal. And just makes it look so simple, doesn't he? And we all know that golf isn't a simple game, so we've got to admire him for that. Let's have a look at a few things in Max's swing here, because it's a pretty one, and there might be some things that we can sort of take back into our own swing. So what you're going to notice with Max is, you know, he does a beautiful job of just keeping a lot of the club on plane throughout the swing. So, you know, as he works it back nicely on plane, that right arm is going to fold very, very nicely. The shaft is going to work underneath the right shoulder, gets to the top of the backswing, and then it's just, you know, one of the things that I think is world class with Max is the arm structure. So, you know, he's got that lead arm working, you know, quite nicely across the shoulder plane. That right arm is going to be way in front of his right hip, which means he's going to have a ton of room to like swing the hands and arms. And then, you know, the shaft's in quite a neutral, the shaft and the club face in quite a neutral position. He does a very, very job of like keeping his height in the backswing and keeping his, you know, head in quite a stable position. So, you know, never really working too far away from or over this sort of vertical headline. As he works into downswing, so transition and downswing, he doesn't really have an aggressive shallowing move, but he just keeps it on plane very, very nicely. You know, and when he gets to sort of left arm parallel here, he's also got the shaft, you know, pitched at pretty much, well, running parallel with, you know, the plane of the club at setup. So it's perfectly on plane. And then as he comes into impact, you know, the shaft's going to work through the right forearm. He does a very, very good job of keeping like in posture. So, you know, his pelvis and rear end are going to stay back against this sort of vertical plane line. That's going to give him a load of space here to swing the club. And then as he comes down into impact, I mean, just absolutely flushes the golf ball. The hands exit low and left. That club head is going to come well underneath his left shoulder, through the torso, and he just comes up into this beautiful balanced like finish position, doesn't he? It's a really, really nice movement. The one thing that I love about Max's swing, I mean, you know, keeps everything on plane, but I mean, the footwork has got to be best in the business, hasn't it? Look at this. Rarely, there aren't many players on the PGA Tour now with this sort of right foot movement where it sort of cambers onto the instep. A lot of players are sort of, you know, getting into that right toe with the right heel off the ground really early, but Max just kind of like rolls onto the instep, you know, even late into the finish position there. And just the amount of ankle mobility that you need to get yourself into that position is, you know, incredible. Very, very impressive. Face on, we'll have a look at a couple of things with Max. So we'll draw a couple of angles here on his hips. Sets up quite a narrow stance. You know, still fairly athletic, but you know, not overly so. And then what you're going to notice with Max is in the backswing, he doesn't have like an awful lot of wrist set. So, you know, usually at this point you have players, you know, starting to set the club, like Rory McIlroy does this, set the club really early and then just rotate to the top. But, you know, Max doesn't really like to play with an awful lot of wrist angles. So he just delays it until the very top of the backswing. Also doesn't like to have a particularly long swing, so rarely do I see Max with iron anyway, with the sort of shaft parallel here. It's, It's always quite short and compact, which I personally quite like. And then, you can see he's sort of shifted into his right side quite nicely. And then he does what all world-class players do, which is before he even finishes his backswing, he does what's known as like a recentering move. So, you shift your pressure and your weight to your right side. And as you move to the top, and this is just a really dynamic athletic movement, but you start to sort of shift left towards target. That's going to recenter you. And then, as you start to coming into impact, you're going to get, or you see this with a lot of like world-class players, you get like half of that lead leg going through the wall. And again, you can see the arm structure from Max coming into impact. And this is just so good. Look at the amount of pressure that he's able to put onto the shaft with this arm structure. It looks so strong. And he's got an insane amount of shaft lean, like coming into the ball. It's about 14 degrees of shaft lean, so he's really going to compress the ball very, very nicely. And then as he comes through, you can see sort of how flat and stable this wrist is coming through the shot. Very, very little face rotation as he goes through impact. And then the one thing that you're going to see, guys, with a lot of world-class ball strikers are when the right arm, if you were to draw a line straight down this right arm here, it's kind of in front of the shaft. So a lot of amateurs, let's clear some of these lines. A lot of amateurs at this position will have flipped the club and they'll get the shaft and the right arm sort of in line with each other here. But, you almost have this sort of line of compression here where, you're getting this sort of angle. So that's amazing from Max. And then again, he's just going to sort of work up into this beautiful finish position. That right foot cambering, moves onto the instep, gets the weight onto his lead side. And so much extension through his right arm there. It's brilliant. And up into the finish. He's an incredible player. I had the pleasure of walking around Hoylake watching Max at the Open last year. And I followed him for about 8 or 9 holes. I knew that he absolutely clipped everything. I mean, it's really impressive. Just flushes everything. But what I wasn't quite prepared for and what I was really quite impressed with was like just how smart of a golfer he is around the golf course. So, he was effectively just picking apart Royal Liverpool. I think he finished tied 10th in the end, but he wasn't afraid of like laying well back off the tee and giving himself like mid to long irons into greens. His approach play is that good. That really doesn't concern him. So, he's a very strategic golfer. And I think because of that, you're possibly, and this might be a bold take, by the way, but you're possibly looking at a future US Open champion here, someone that can stay very, very disciplined. He is one of the leaders on the PGA Tour with his putting as well. So you get him on the right golf course, this guy is a major champion, I'm telling you. Guys, thank you very much for stopping by. If you haven't already, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And we'll be back with more swing tips, swing videos very soon.